I can, I promise. Don't hold it against me. All right, you got 3 questions. And these are 3 questions to take into. I learned when I first really started learning, I thought, how do I look at things? How do I listen to things and learn? Well, you got to start asking questions. So here's 3 questions I give you every week. And these are the same 3 questions that is the second question on our life group. And here it is. 3 questions to think about as you go into this message. What point in this message is more impactful for you? How does it challenge, change, or affirm your thinking? How will you put into practice what you learned today? Those are important things. I hope you never walk out of here thinking that you've just been in Charlie Brown's classroom. Wah, 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 wah. I promise you, that's not my goal ever to that. But I want to ask you a question. This is part 4 of personal conversations with God. And I've been talking the last 4 weeks about how through our prayer life and our relationship with God, we get to know Him better. You really only get to know people better by spending time with them, right? By asking questions, by listening and whatnot. So today I'm talking about smiling with God. Who likes to smile? Now, you'd feel pretty dumb if you didn't raise your hand up just then, didn't you? That was peer pressure. We like to smile, and I want to try something. All right? You ready? I'm going to count to 3, and I want you to give me your biggest smile. I don't care how much of an introvert you are or how much of an extrovert. I want to see teeth. Okay? So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, if y'all will just do that for the next 30 minutes and go like this every once in a while and say amen, you will make my day. You will absolutely make my day. We all love to be smiled at. We do. And we love to smile. Smiling is a very important part of what we do. We do know this as we look at Scripture, just like a parent always, when you look at I put a question on my Facebook page this last week. What makes you smile? Almost everyone had something to do with the relationship. Wife, parents, children. When they smile, I love to make them smile. I hate disciplining my grandkids. I love disciplining my kids. There was just something that made me feel good about being a dad when I discipline my kids. But the grandkids, you just they just melt your heart, and they can do just about anything, and it makes you smile. So I looked up some research. I've always heard that there are benefits to smiling, but besides just making you feel good. But there's other benefits too that have to do with your health. And obviously, there are benefits that have to do with your relationships. If you're that person in the office that never smiles, when you go back tomorrow, start smiling. And when they say, dude, what is up with you? You say, I got saved yesterday. Just do that and then just smile. Just smile. All right, so the SCL Health Magazine. I have no clue what SCL means, but it sounds official. When you smile, your brain releases tiny molecules called neuropeptides to help fight off stress. Then other neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, these aren't things you smoke, these come straight from your dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, they come into play. The endorphins act as a mild pain reliever. There you go. Whereas the serotonin is an antidepressant. Sometimes just smiling. What if you woke up? There was a radio announcer here in our area that probably somewhere back in the 80s. See if y'all remember this. Keep on smiling and make the whole world wonder what you've been up to. Anybody hear that? Am I the only one that heard that? That was a country and western station. And the guy always said that he was coming to us from the back of Euless. So, but keep on smiling, make the whole world wonder. One study even suggests that smiling can help you recover faster from stress and reduce a heart attack. There's been some evidence that forcing a smile, just faking, There's been evidence that forcing a smile can still bring you a boost in your mood and happiness levels. So if you're walking around sad all the time and you say, I can't help it, try smiling. Try smiling. Your smile can also affect those around you. It's contagious. We get the same kind of reaction in our brains when you smile. Look at that pretty smile right there, right there. We get the same reaction when people smile back to us as we do, inside as we do when we smile ourselves. Our brain responds to make us feel better when someone else smiles at you. Sweden is, but one Swedish study suggests that we can't help but react with a smile of our own when we see someone smiling. So we get a double smile bonus. And then last, and maybe to some of y'all the most important, smiling and happiness can actually affect your job performance. A team of economists, it's one of those hard words you have to have a 6th grade education to read. A team of those guys performed a study and found that human happiness has a large and positive causal effect on productivity. Positive emotions appear to invigorate human beings, while negative emotions have the opposite effect. Another study linked to decision-making, processing, and learning to release of dopamine triggered by happiness. So smiling can also make a more creative and efficient worker. There you go. When you go to work tomorrow, you just smile and make the whole world wonder what you've been up to. And then what happens is it starts making you feel better. Y'all know, I started again about a year ago riding my motorcycle. And I'll just tell you, when I need a smile, wind therapy. Wind therapy. I can come home from work and I haven't been smiling yet, because Lisa doesn't always make me smile, I'll just tell you. So I can be coming home from work and I haven't been smiling, and it hadn't been a good day, and I just go do something that I love, and it brings that smile on you. Everybody heard of Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa. Here's a quote from Mother Teresa. Peace begins with a smile. Now, unless the guy's really, really mad and he says, wipe that smile off your face, that's a different thing that we're talking about here. But a smile brings peace to you, and it brings peace to the people around you. It helps you. It helps you be more communal and loving and caring, and people pick up on that. And what ends up happening is when you're smiling, it really affects your whole body as far as relaxing and the effect that you have on the people that are around you. It feels good when someone you love smiles at you, right? Does that feel good? Just recently, one of our grandkids were spending the night, and I walked up to one of them, and I reached up over the top of her like this and gave her a kiss, and she went, "Dog, you smell good." Now, let me tell you something. So a smile added to a compliment, that doubles the endorphins that comes, especially if it's coming from somebody that you love. Well, golly, nobody on the planet loves you as much as God. Nobody on the planet loves you as much as God. Now, what you have to be careful of is why we smile and what we do. If you're just trying to keep someone happy, there's something wrong with the friendship. If you're just faking it, if you're just trying to keep someone happy, and that could be even with the actions you do, and you can see that with what God says in Hosea 6. Look what God says. He says, "I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices." Now, your whole life, you've been hearing offer sacrifices. The whole time you've been in church, you've been hearing people, the preachers preach, offer sacrifices, give your offering, give your time, give your energy. These are sacrifices that you're to give. Now, let me tell you something. Before I really loved God, I did that. I remember getting up and going to church because I felt guilty. Going to church because I hadn't been long enough. Going to church because Lisa was making me. Going to church, I just remember all the wrong reasons that I got up and went to church. And I'll tell you, it was not making God smile. Because you can do things because you want something in return. And I'll tell you something, if the only reason you're smiling, if the only reason you're loving, if the only reason you're giving somebody something, if the only reason you're paying a compliment is because you want something in return, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. Some of y'all in here, it's your nature, it seems like, to smile. Huh? Dion, you smile all the time. Debbie, you smile all the time. You think of a guy in here that smiles all the time. One of y'all guys smiled every time, I know that. No, but some of us, that just almost seems to be just our nature, and that's what we do. And you know from that person it's natural, but sometimes if people are thinking your smile is fake, and sometimes you do fake because you're not feeling it inside. I'm not saying here that's what that is here, because by faking it you can make yourself feel better. But when we're giving something, God says, I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices. Now, what he's saying here is not that he doesn't want you to make sacrifices. Next, please. I want you to know me more than I want burnt offerings. Now, guess what happens when you get to know someone better? When you get to know God better, you're going to give more. You're going to spend more time with him. Don't we want to spend time with the people that we love spending time with? So the more you get to know God, the more you love him, and so the Jewish people, the Israelites, they would just give it because that's what they had to do. Y'all have heard that God loves a cheerful giver. It's because you love. That's where the cheerfulness comes from, not because you're expecting something in return. It's God wants us loving because we're loving. He wants us giving because we're giving. Many people do the actions of worship without actually worshiping. Now, I don't personally know of any of you that do that, but think about it. When you worship, are you really worshiping, or are you just going through the motions? Or are you just, because here's what I know is going to happen. Golly, this friend of mine, Billy Taylor's a singer, and I haven't heard him sing in a long time, and he's still got it. I went and watched him do a little concert the other night, and he sang this song. Golly, I can't think of the name of the song. It's about a guy's had a dream. He went to heaven, and he saw Timothy, and he saw the other prophets and all that, and every time he met one of them, he said, I see you, but I want to see Jesus. I want to see Jesus. Dude, I cried like a baby. It was so embarrassing. Now, what was good was all the people in there were way older than me, so they couldn't see me crying. But man, I was just crying like a baby. That comes with it. And I'm not saying you're all going to cry, but the joy and the happiness and the thing that makes you smile, those are the things that come when you're really worshiping God. Not just when you're singing songs, but when you're helping somebody out by giving them something, or when you're going over and helping your neighbor mow their yard, or when you're doing something. See, those are sacrifices you do because you love. And if you do them because you love, guess what? You're going to feel God's love back. Now, what you have to be careful of is oftentimes we love and we don't get it back, and then we go, I'm not going to. Well, don't forget, if you're loving for God, you're getting the love for God back, and that person may still be a curmudgeon, and they'll burn for that. Not really, for those of y'all. Boy, some of y'all looked at me really seriously then. That made me nervous. No, but you can... But you can also, you can change them if you have that right kind of attitude. Look what Psalmist writes. Smile on me, your loving servant. Instruct me on what is right in your eyes. Whoa. You want to have a good Monday? You get up tomorrow morning before you go to work, you pray that. Huh? Oh, gosh, it's Monday. I'm back to work. And Lord, please smile on me, your loving servant. Instruct me on what is right in your eyes. Royal, I'm going to work. I'm not going to be doing something for God. Then you're not getting the God thing. You're there to represent. You're a child of God, a whole part of the holy priesthood. That'll freak you out, right? You're part of the holy priesthood before you're anything else that you do at your job. So you have to represent God first before corporate America. And if you're doing anything but love, you're not representing God first. You're not representing God first. So here's the deal. God smiles when you love him honestly and deeply. And y'all know what that is as a child, as a person who's had children or a person who has grandchildren. You know when your kids are honestly loving you and they're not just trying to get an ice cream. Now, it's cute when they're trying to get an ice cream. It's not so cute when they're trying to get a car. But if they're honestly loving you, honestly and deeply, it makes you smile. And it's the same thing for God. That's why when Jesus was asked what was most important, he said, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. Now what this means is what? Love. It means love. Are you loving? And if you don't know, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8 is a list of what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love doesn't hold a grudge. It's important that you love God that way and you love people that way. Jesus said, this is the first and greatest commandment. It's a commandment that's most important. He also followed that up with that loving people is the second great. And he said both of those, everything. If you're trying to obey God, you start with love God, love people. If you're sitting here today and this sounds like crazy to you and you know nothing about following God and you don't know anything about the Bible, you don't know Genesis from John, you don't know anything like that, take this and run with it. Love God and love people. The rest will fill in. And you'll be doing right. You'll be the only one maybe at the office who's loving that person. Look at James. Or God smiles when you trust and obey. God smiles when you trust and obey. Now a lot of times we struggle with the obedience. One of the things about social media that stands out more than I've ever seen in my life is people wanting to obey God in one way so bad they're cussing people out for not obeying him, yet they're doing all these other things that God says not to do. So that's really, really inconsistent. They call that hypocrisy. Don't get mad when they call you hypocrite. When you're insisting somebody act this way, but you're completely doing something God doesn't want you to do on the other side. That's the definition of hypocrisy. For us to really obey God with the right attitude. Like I said, I went to church for all the wrong reasons. I got to church when I felt guilty. I went to church because I wanted to be with the blonde. I went to church for all the wrong reasons. But when I truly learned to trust God, obeying's a snap. Because he's going to take care of you. It doesn't mean life's always going to be easy, but you're going to be blessed by your trust when you obey. So James writes, so you see, we are shown to be right with God, watch this, by what we do. Well, I thought Christianity wasn't about works. Well, works is what comes after faith. Works don't give you your faith. Works grow your faith. Because you're doing it and you're trusting. Again, you have to do it as trusting. You can't do it as fear. You can't do it as, I really want to get this job, job. So what I'm going to do is, my interview is Wednesday. I'm going to do everything right until Wednesday. I've had people come to church, and this happened over and over and over again for years. I've had people come to church, man, they come and they bow at the altar and they cry and they wanted God, and I don't have a job, I lost my wife, I have to this. And then in 3 weeks he's got a job and he's got a girlfriend moving in, and all of a sudden he doesn't need God anymore. So you see, we're shown to be right. We're shown, people can tell who we are by our obedience. Jesus said, people know you're my disciples by the way you obey my commandments. Partial obedience is disobedience. You can say, uh-oh on that one if you want to. Partial obedience is disobedience. And again, if you focus on, I don't know all the rules. No, if you focus on loving God and loving people, you're going to do the right thing. Because then you're spirit-led. You're even going to do things that you don't even know. You don't even know whether it's right or wrong, but you know that the Spirit is leading you to do that because You're practicing being in his presence. Partial obedience, disobedience. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it, Lord. This is Psalmist 119. As long as I live in wholehearted I'll wholeheartedly obey. You got to ask yourself, am I obeying with all my heart? There are things we know. When you fall in love with somebody, you give them your whole heart, right? Now, later on, you may not be so involved with your whole heart, but when that person's loving you and caring about you, and man, this is what you thought you've always wanted, you start doing it with your whole heart. Well, decide to do that with God. Wholeheartedly obey everything that you feel that God tells you to do, and especially the things that you know that he tells you to do as you look into the Word of God. God smiles when you trust his outcome. Oh, man. As a pastor and a counselor, this is the hardest thing. This is the hardest thing. Well, I can't believe God took my wife. I can't believe after all that prayer and everybody at church prayed and she just had a horrible, painful, long, drawn out. It was terrible. It was horrible. I'm never, ever going to talk to God again. It's really hard when I tell somebody that person you love has just had the ultimate healing. We go through crud on earth, right? Some of us are scared to death of what our grandkids are going to have to go through in the next 20 years. You know? You better be teaching them to love Jesus. Because, man, there's something about when you love Jesus and you're following him and God gets you through this, and then you see the things that he does to make you stronger and you become stronger in your faith. That's just amazing. It's amazing. And it's important. By the way, if there are people around you that are grieving, I just want to get on grief here for just a second, okay? I'm off script. None of us like being around somebody that grieves. I'm just going to throw that out on the table. It makes it so uncomfortable. You don't know what to say. You want to be smart. You want to pray the right kind of prayers. You know what they need? Your presence. They need you there. This is part of my counseling when I do grief. When somebody's lost a loved one and I'm helping them prepare for the funeral, I say something like this. And I would have never said this until I learned this going through dealing with people that are grieving all the time. I will say, don't get mad at your friends that bail on you after they bring you a casserole. Because casserole is the only thing that they can do, that they can hand it to you real quick, say, I hope you're doing good, if you need something else. And they do. And they do. And then you see people talking about the fact that I don't have a friend. I thought I had lots of friends, but they just all bailed. That's the community of faith that I'm always talking about that we're supposed to have. It's important that we realize that the outcome that came out is not something that God didn't have planned. And right now it can seem horrible, but if you have that idea, you will see the good come out of it. If you have the other and you turn your back on God, all you'll see from that point out is pain to continue to come from that. Some of you in here have jobs that better than any job you ever had before, and you couldn't believe you prayed that God wouldn't let you get fired from that last job, and he did, and all of a sudden, it's because you went in with the right attitude and the outcome. And I'm not sure why God let this happen, but obviously he must have something better planned for me to do, and that's just the way. So God smiles when we're thankful for the good and the bad. We're thankful for the good and the bad. We're thankful for his outcome. His joy is in those who reverence him. Reverence him. Those who expect him to be loving and kind. We expect God. Here's the deal. Have you noticed that when you expect certain things from people, they become that person? And then every once in a while you're surprised, you go, oh, I thought you were a jerk, but you're really a nice guy. No, the jerk was what was in your head or what somebody had said or whatever. It's important that you realize that. But his joy is in those who reverence him, love him, no matter what's happening. Those who expect him to be loving and kind. He's there for you. He wants to comfort you. By the way, how many of you have heard of the book of Job? You've heard life of Job. I don't want to be that person. I never want to be that person. Well, I'm not going to tell you right now to go in and read Job. But here's what I want to tell you. When life goes down the toilet, go read Job. Several years ago, we had a time in our life that was really horrible. And Lisa and I went on a cruise. I took my Bible and I opened Job. And I've read Job many times before, but when you read it and you're not in pain, you go, oh, I'm glad I'm not that guy. That's all you do. And then you go, well, he lost his kids. He lost it. Why did they put that in the Bible? But when I was in that pain, now it was very painful sitting on a cruise, watching out over the ocean and eating my dessert, but I was not happy. And then when I got near the end, and Job, who was faithful, and God allowed the devil to go after him, finally Job complained. And then God spoke. Because Job had all these friends coming to him. You must have done something wrong. You must have been looking at porn on the internet. You must have been doing whatever they were saying must have been happening in his life. You're just not, God's punishing you. And so he's kind of almost starting to believe it. And just when he starts to question it, God goes, Job, where were you when I put the ocean next to the shore? I'm God. I'm going to take care of you. All I'm asking you to do is to continue to trust me. And after all the horrible stuff that happened to him, and when you read the end of the story, it was better than the first part of the story when everything was good. Because that's what God does. It's impossible to please God without faith. You've got to have that faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists. Now that's important. I will tell you this, 99% of the people believe that God is for real. But most don't believe or live their life in a way that they believe that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. Now, when somebody reads this, they often think, oh, this is for the person who's sincerely seeking God and they don't know God and they don't know Jesus. Well, that part's true. But he's writing this letter to believers. So what he's saying is, believers, sincerely seek him all the time. You wake up in the morning, you sincerely seek him. You're doing your job, you sincerely seek him. You're dealing with a customer that's irate and just ridiculous, you sincerely seek God. And you're constantly thinking about that. And man, it does so much for your attitude. And you know one of the things it does to your attitude, which we just read a little while ago, that study says it changes the other people? It makes you smile. I've told y'all a lot of times, my nerves come when I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But what I've learned to do, as soon as I realize what I'm doing, I stop and I go, okay, God, I trust you. You know what comes with that every time? A smile. I'm laying there in the dark, can't see anything except the clock over there ticking away. But I say, you know, I trust you, and I smile, and I smile. We sincerely seek him. Keep doing that. Make that a habit. God smiles when you're thankful for the good and the bad. We'll say thank you, God, but then we don't bless God after he blesses us. We've got to go forward and do the things that we need to do. We've got to be thankful for the good, really thankful for the good, like you know it's from God and it's not from me, but you've also got to be thankful for the bad when the bad things happen. I will worship you and offer you a sacrifice of thanksgiving. A sacrifice of thanksgiving. So I got to thinking about this because I think if you're just reading this, you're thinking about him writing to the Hebrew people and you're thinking about the sacrifices and the burning on the altar and all that other kind of thing. But a sacrifice of thanksgiving. What that means is I give back to him sacrificially because he has blessed me. In all ways. I just wrote down a few things because I knew I wouldn't remember them. A sacrifice is a thing that costs. When the Old Testament Jews would take sacrifices to the temple, it was a sacrifice of something important to them. That's why God tells us to give sacrificially. Because I would say to most of us, money's the most important thing we have. So he asks us to give sacrificially. So you're to sacrifice giving something that's important. It was not a light matter to sacrifice to God. It took preparation. It took time. It took effort, money, and ended in the loss of something that could have otherwise been used for personal gain. If thanksgiving then is described as a sacrifice, then biblical thanksgiving costs. It isn't an overflow of the extra. I think about, there's one scene in Scripture. Jesus, as far as giving goes financially, Jesus always talked sacrifice. And he talked about the tithe and all, but he talked about sacrifice. And there's one scene where he's sitting in the room, and it's a learning moment. And he's got his 12 disciples around him. And people, as a part of their service, when we give here, you give online, you give on your way out of the buckets. We don't even pass the plates. But Jesus is watching, and what they had to do back then to give, the Jewish people had to walk to the front and throw coinage in a brass pot. So you could hear it, right? So the guy sitting back, all the way back there in the corner went, I better give more than I just gave, because that guy was loud. So Jesus is sitting there, he's watching, and this rich man comes in, a man that had plenty, and he walked in, and he kind of looked around the room. This is how I'm seeing it goes. He kind of looked around the room and kind of acted like it's going to be hard picking this cash up and putting it in and picked it up and threw it in the bucket and went bling, 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 and then for good measure he went bong, bong on the side. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking in my mind that had to have been happening. And then this little old lady who had nothing, she walks in with 2 mites. Now I know a penny isn't worth anything today. Neither is $1 or $1,000. Anyway, but she walks in with 2 mites, which from what I've read said that was less than a penny. Maybe it didn't make a noise because it landed on all the big money. I don't know. Jesus goes, see that? She gave a sacrifice. He just gave out of the overflow. We got to ask ourselves, when we give, and I'm not just talking about financially, when we give to God, are we giving sacrificially? Of our funds, of our talents? You just got to ask yourself, are you going the extra mile? Are you making it harder by just taking another step, going a little bit further? You see a waitress, she's having a bad day. You can tell she's having a bad day because she doesn't care about how she's serving. Who knows what's going on in her life? And I watch Christians, I see where Christians write on their receipt, terrible service, 0. Give her $100. Give her something that's a sacrifice. Because love changes people. Writing 0 doesn't change anything. It just adds to the pain that she's already got. You see what I'm saying? I mean, make a sacrifice. The things that we do, are we giving out of our overflow? This is easy. Because it's easy to do that. You walk in and buy somebody something at Starbucks and they make a big deal out of it. I had a lady one time write on a cup that I bought somebody. She wrote on their cup, "My hero." And I'm going, that was a $2 cup of coffee. Now, it felt good that everybody here thought I was cool. You know, if I knew they were going to do that, I'd have bought her a pastry. But, because I love pats on the back. That's the way it works. All right. We sacrifice When we sacrifice, we got to sacrifice our complaints. What if you didn't complain one time at work this week? What if you didn't sit in a group of people around the lunch table and complain about something? That's painful because you want so bad for people to feel sorry for you. We need to sacrifice our fears. We need to sacrifice our wants. Look at 1 Thessalonians 15:8. I need to get a move on. Be thankful in all circumstances. In what? All circumstances, good, bad, no matter what happens. You get a flat tire, anything, be thankful. And again, smile. That'll help you be thankful. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Jesus Christ. It's a part of that. When you're a part of that group, when you're a part of that family, this is the life-changing stuff, that you be thankful in circumstances. This is the kind of stuff that make people take notice. Well, I thought we weren't supposed to show off. No, you're not supposed to show off. You're not supposed to brag. You're not supposed to be prideful, but you humble yourself in all circumstances, and you're thankful for all circumstances. Thankfulness is a byproduct of a strong faith. So if you're not very grateful about things, you need to look kind of at yourself and see, am I really being a person of faith? Let your roots grow down into Him, Paul writes, and let your lives be built on Him. Now, this takes time, right? I mean, Lisa and I have been together a whole lot of years. And it's just funny. We think, I'll go, why, what's the matter? She'll go, nothing. I know she's lying. I just know. Now, she learned a long time ago. She'll go, what are you thinking? I'll say nothing. She's learned I'm not thinking anything. She'll tell you. He's not really. If he says he's not thinking anything, it's just so. But you get into God. You get into God enough that His word becomes a part of your life, and His attitude becomes a part of your life, and His love for other people becomes a part of your life. And God uses that, and He uses you. People are afraid to be missionaries. People are afraid to speak in public. People are afraid to go up and talk to people about Jesus. If you're living your life in a way that people notice and go, what an incredible human being. He or she is humble. They love other people. He's always in a great mood. He smiles even when bad things are going on. Then somebody's going to go, what is it about him? And somebody's going to come up and say, what is it about you? Are you for real? There's no problem at all telling people about Jesus when you know that your life is the overflowing of Jesus. Seriously, love God and love people, and you'll change the world. If you're a guest here today, that's our motto. That if we love God and we love people, that it will change the world. And it starts with us. It starts in your home. It starts in your office. It starts at the 7-Eleven. It starts with any person you come into contact with, including, social media. Including social media. Let your roots grow down into Him, and let your lives be built on Him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness. God smiles when we are content with how He made us. When we're content with how He made us. We don't all look alike. We don't all talk alike. We don't all do the same things. And that's the way it's supposed to be. There are people that you can reach easier than I can reach. There are strengths and weaknesses you have. And I've taught this for years when I do premarital counseling and when I do weddings. We're always attracted to the opposite. Not just the opposite sex. We're attracted to the opposite strengths. You realize that, don't you? Have you figured that out? If you haven't figured that out, that might be one of your biggest problems. Because it's the strengths that we fall in love with. I used to counsel couples and they're duking it out and he goes, the problem is she makes a list and she wants me to make a list and I just like to fly by the seat of my pants. Oh, I'm describing my marriage. But And yours. But we're attracted to the opposite. And I always tell people when I do a wedding, I'll stand in front of everybody and I'll say, one of y'all, and a lot of times I don't even know, because sometimes I don't even get a chance to do, premarital counseling very much or whatever. And somebody's in a hurry because somebody's going to the military or something like that. And I'll sit there, and this happens every single time. I'll go, hey, here's the deal. One of y'all likes to make lists. One of y'all is really organized. The other one, you like to just goof around and list. You get a list and you don't even look at it. And they both look at each other and go, how did he know that? But that's what attracts us. I need Lisa's strengths, and she needs my strengths. God smiles when we're content with how he made us. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their life. What sorrow awaits those who argue with the Creator. Argue with the Creator. Why, God, did you make me like this? Why is my personality like this? Why do I have so much trouble losing weight? Why do I not have any energy? Why am I not smart? Boy, I did that a long time. The reason I didn't want to go back to college was I just didn't think that I was smart. And I would have these arguments with God about that. But why? What sorrow awaits those who argue with the Creator? God has a place for you. He has a thing that he wants you to do. He has an effect that he wants you to make on a group of people. That's what it's all about. This Isaiah. Does a clay pot argue with the maker? Does the clay dispute with the one who shapes it, saying, stop, you're doing it wrong? Does the pot explain, how clumsy can you be? You know not to say that to your mama, right? Mom, you just... You know what I'm talking about. Some of you younger people may not, but us older people, we've been knocked around a few times. And we're good for it. All right, how about you? Are you living a life that makes God smile? And I just want to promise you this. If you leave your house every day going, I'm going to love God and love people. If you focus all the time on living the best life you can, following what God wants. If you do the things like we talked about here that make God smile, you're going to have a blessed life. But a blessed life isn't a mansion on the hill. It's a mansion in heaven. But that doesn't come yet. And I don't know about you. If you really love Jesus, you don't want to go home yet. Because you got people you want to take with you. You want to make an impact. Interesting thing I heard today. I'm finished with this. A friend of mine posted. They just did this long study. And for all of y'all people 60 and up, listen. I've always heard people say, I can't wait till 65. I can't wait to retire. I can't wait. And I get asked, do you want to retire? I go, no, no. And all right, here we go. The most productive decade of your life, if you're living it, is 60 to 70 years old. That's a surprise, right? You young guys thought you were kicking it right now. And we got all these people that can't wait to retire when they get to 60s. The second most productive decade in your life is 70 to 80. And how do they do this? They studied people that were successful and that were productive. And they figured out that a very high percentage of people that lead things and do things and make an impact on life and all that. Y'all remember Colonel Sanders was 70-something years old when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. Third is from 50 to 60. And we all think we're getting old and it's time to quit. Get after it. Let's get after it. Let's change the world. You don't have to be brilliant. You just have to love God. You don't have to be able to build things and do this. God may have given you the talent for that, but start off with loving God and loving people. And then what will happen is things will fall into your lap. Things will change. If you'd asked me 40 years ago if I would have been a pastor, I would have laughed in your face. But when I got fired up about God and started following him and really serving him and really worshiping him and really loving him, he just one step at a time took me to a place now where I want to be here a long time because I know God's got things for me to do. Let me pray. Father, may we live the best life we have, making you smile. We're so thankful for Jesus in the relationship with him. May we bless you with all that we do. May we bless you with our time, bless you with our talents, bless you with our resources. May we be your love with skin and love people who are hard to love. Lord, as we give back this morning a part of what you've blessed us with, I pray that we spend wisely, save aggressively, and give generously as a church and as individuals. And Lord, if there are people in here today that are just thinking, I need to get back on track. I need to be that person that God's telling me about right now, Lord. I just pray that it can start now. And I lift them up to you. And I pray for you to empower them and encourage them no matter what things are in their way. And if there's someone here today, Lord, that they're just not sure and they haven't made that commitment to following you and they just can't find a real purpose in their life and they just can't understand why they're struggling or whatever, Lord's going on in their life, I pray that today will be the day that they commit to loving Jesus and following him for the rest of their life. And if Lord, there's someone in here that needs to take a next step. They need to join the church. They need to be baptized. They need to be prayed for. I pray that that happens now before we get into the week. I thank you for that. And I pray this